Janette, can I ask, like, so if you, like, right now, just called up your guy best friend and, like, asked him to smash.
Classic.
I just asked him to smash right now. Do you think he'd say
Well,
yes?
what do you think would happen?
How quickly do you think they'd agree?
Yeah.
I don't think that quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
We dialing right now?
Yeah? Do you want
Dialing
to?
right now?
Do you want to?
Oh.
Yeah, do it.
Oh.
Do it. Dial right
Like,
now.
I do want to.
Yeah, I do want to.
Now we're in this.
Should we?
Do it.
Let's do it. This is your decision.
Wow.
I can do it.
I think I'm like lean because like from the experience that I've had like in the dating pool or whatnot, like I'm normally the one being asked out. So then
Wow.
No,
Like,
no.
dude, just flexing on all of us.
no,
right?
no, but as in like
I'm usually getting asked out. Like, okay.
Hey guys.
it's your boy.
It's your boy.
My
Yeah,
name
all the preparation, all the planning out the window, man.
Hey sweet peas, it's Janette. I'm joined by,
Sizzling D.
And Niru.
and we're 3 peas in a podcast.
Oh shit! Wait.
Oh, we're supposed to say that together. And we're three peas in a podcast.
Do it again.
Okay.
Do it again.
The most
No, just
chaotic stuff.
just do the and where.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're
3
Three
peas
Peas in a podcast. Woo.
So
Yeah,
distracted.
boys.
Thanks for tuning in again with us. Today we really want to get into a bit of a spicier topic. So obviously, like, everyone talks about relationships, and you know that has so many different like facets to it as well. But one area that we wanted to talk about today was around whether guys and girls can be best friends.
How
So-
about
No. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, right off the bat, what do you say, yes or no?
I was just gonna say like let's start with the poll. Like let's start with left right. Let's say yes, let's no. What do you think?
Yeah, just jump
Let's
right
say
in.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so no.
I think they can. Like I think it's a bit grey. It can't not a black and white answer.
If you had to say yes or no.
Yeah, if
what
you
would
say
it
yes or no.
I'd say yes.
The awkward
I want to
silence.
say maybe.
Bro.
That's
It's
good.
a great. It's so
Say
great,
yes
bro.
or no.
Please don't leave me. Don't go to his side, bro. Stay with me, please.
I say yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The potential's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think the potential is there as well. I know I said
Yeah.
no, but yeah, I do think that like if certain conditions are met, then I think yes, you can definitely have guy and girl best friends. I do have a lot of female friends myself as well, so me saying no is kind of hypocritical there. But like I say that because a lot of those relationships do meet a lot of criteria that I think most guy-girl friendships don't. So
So what? Are you saying you think all your mates are chat?
yeah, my friends are just not that pretty, you know, like exhibit A right here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
No, we're not best friends.
Yeah. Yes. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Yeah, true, fair enough. Rightio.
So that's really interesting
Yeah.
because you mentioned like you have a lot of like close like female friends,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a differentiation between like close female friend. Oh, sorry, not close female. Like close friends and best friends between guys and girls,
yeah.
right? Do you feel like there's a difference? So like obviously you said no to like you can't be like girl guy best friends, but what about like close friends?
Yeah, like
What was that criteria you were trying to break down in?
the criteria.
Yeah, we'll
that
break
I
into
have-
that. Yeah.
What's your checklist?
Oh.
The checklist is that I think you cannot be like mutually attracted to each other, and I think one person also can't be attracted to the other person. So when I say that, I think it's okay to be like, oh yeah, the other person is pretty and the other person is like hot or whatever, but it can't be something where you're like, they cannot be like a standard that you're comparing girls to, like, yeah, oh, she's not as pretty as this girl, like,
Yeah.
she's not as pretty as my friend, and like it cannot be the
Yeah.
type of like attraction where it's like you would like date that person, or you would
Yeah.
where you would get into that. And I think that has to be mutual. It can't just be one person, because if one person is like that, then I think given the opportunity they probably would go for it or try something.
So what would you say are like the make or break things about like girl guy best friends or friendships in general? And like are there exceptions, or like exceptions where you'd be like, yeah, that's okay? Like
To be like,
yeah.
wait, just to get this correct, like I do think guys and girls can be best friends.
They just mess
when,
up,
Yeah,
yeah.
when those criteria are met, or
Yeah.
when there is like a healthy level of like mutual distance and like respect for each other. I think
Just set up boundaries, proper communication, all the usual stuff. Right?
Yeah, the usual stuff that like even a guy best friend needs to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I do also think is also like just like how like physically touchy you can get. I know that like with guy friends, I'm very physically touchy. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like, you know, I do like put my arm around them, or I'll be like hitting their shoulders, or
Yeah, sometimes just
know,
comes over, smooches me in the middle of the night. That's just casual stuff, you know.
The boys
Yeah, the homies good night, right? Yeah,
kiss
it's
the
usual.
boys good night.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like you cannot do that with girls, even if you are best friends. But so I think like there needs to be some of those boundaries in place, and if one person is constantly like constantly touchy, constantly feely, I do think that is an indication that they don't fully see them as a friend, and at some point this could collapse. I'm not saying it will, but it could end poorly. And one thing that I think is like indicative of some party having feelings throughout the friendship is if when one person gets into a relationship, that friendship kind of stops, or a distance is like
if you see
created.
that coming,
I'm like, there clearly was something there that you felt needed to be distanced when a boyfriend came into the picture. And clearly they weren't important enough to like keep around when there was a boyfriend. So it's like, it's a bit that I think to me is a red flag that it wasn't a platonic mutual friendship all along. But yeah, no, I've been talking for way too long. Where it's like
very fair. Yeah.
So, like, I think a lot of people straight off the bat, I think more people lean towards the sides of like no, if not like that, and I think that's just because like historically you see a lot more relationships that like friendships that fall out because something changes in that dynamic.
Yeah.
But I think there are definitely like opportunities where like it is possible. I think, like you said, it's really about like setting those boundaries like really clear. But something that's really interesting, I feel like if you have like a guy girl like friendship that you're really close, if either of those are like dating someone else, or if they're both in their own relationships, that people are like, yeah, that's fine. There's nothing to worry about, right? But then I'm like, why do people not hold that same standard when they're like single? Like, why do you like automatically presume that like something more would be going on? And I feel like a lot of the time, like people put pressure on those relationships to turn into something. They're like, oh, like you guys are so close, like why don't you just try it? And that like subconsciously puts like ideas in your head of like, why don't we try it?
Yeah, like it could start off as a joke, but then it just, if someone keeps joking about it over and over again, eventually it's like just seeps in. You're like,
exactly,
maybe there's something
you're
more.
like backup plan.
Right?
You know, I'm always gonna back up.
Oh, it's like, it's the whole like, if I'm 40 and you're 40 and we're single, let's get married then.
I think that is like that is a bit of a red flag to me. Like if you're making a pact with somebody,
that means you can see a future with them.
Yeah. Even if it is just like a lulz, like it's a joke, it's like it really isn't. Like
there's always a bit of kernel of truth behind every joke.
Yeah, there is like it is a bit sus when that happens. It's just like
well, I feel like unless you're pulling up papers, like legally sign this contract that
No, like even if you're not, I think like I get to a point where like if you like make a joke about it and you're like joking, like clearly joking about it, I think that's okay. But I know people like I see on TikTok or like on Instagram and stuff when they're like, it's like, I just turned 30, so I'm calling my best friend to like to see if that pact is still on. Like
haven't talked to her in 7 years, but like let's see how it goes.
And it's like it is so clear that there is something there, and it's like in some sense I feel like I also saw this TikTok where it's like if you're like worried about, like people tend to be worried about breaking friendships to like pursue something, right? And it was like the TikTok was saying that like if there is already like sexual tension between you guys, or if there is some tension like that between you guys, then realistically the friendship is to an extent already ruined, because you do not see each other just as friends anymore already. So it's like you're not really breaking a friendship by going for it. And I think like with the best friends thing, like especially if one person is like into the other person or was into the other person, it is so hard to then be like, oh yeah, no, we're just friends.
Just separate all those feelings out, right?
Yeah. Like I don't think you can actually separate that exclusively.
Interesting.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah.
I think.
Have you guys heard of the thing where it's like if you've explored the possibility, then it's better. Like if they've given it a shot, if they've like if there's some history there but it didn't work out, then the guys and girls have a better chance of being best friends. Do you guys think that's true?
Yes.
I know you do. Yeah.
I know
okay.
you do.
Yeah.
I know Janette does.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
I'm referencing like research papers.
Your friend.
Yeah, the Harvard paper.
Not
Recently
my
studied.
Friend Janet is
Janet. Even without Janette's personal stories, I like just thinking objectively about it. It kind of just seems like the logical thing. I guess what people fall in love with when it comes to other people is like the potential they see in them, or like what could be, right?
Yeah.
If you guys are friends, but you kind of want to get with each other, but then you never do, all you'll be left with is just that like, what could have we been, right? We could have been this perfect couple. Like, say you're 40, you could have, damn, I could have been with this person since like 15 years, married, amazing life, right?
Yeah.
If you just tried it, 2 weeks later, you're like, I fucking hate this person. I'm so sick of their shit. Like, you never know, right? Yeah.
But I think to still be really good friends at that point, there's certain like lines or boundaries you can't cross.
100%, yeah.
Like if you still want to remain like good friends, like it could just be like if you're going on like a few dates to kind of see if there is that romantic vibe, because some people like you just don't have that feeling with them, right?
Yeah.
And if you're both on the same page, then it's like I feel like you can still reel it back into a friendship.
For sure, yeah.
But I think it's really different if you're like, oh, we've dated for like 2 years, and then it's like,
I think that's,
let's
yeah.
still be like best mates
Yeah.
after. I think that's really hard to say that like that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah, I think if you've truly been in love with the person previously, you can't go back to being friends. If you've just been close and then like tried dating or whatnot, just gone on a few dates, done whatever, it's like you can go back, but I think a whole relationship is something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole like history with the person thing is like a bit interesting to me, because I feel like when that happens, it's kind of evidence that like given the opportunity, that other person took it. The other person took it before. And it's like, especially when it was like something like physical. I feel like if it was you guys went on dates or you guys were dating, it's slightly different. But if it's like you guys like, you know, like kissed after a night out or something like that, I think then that is a bit more sus, because like even if you guys are like talk about it after that and like say, hey, like nothing's gonna happen here, like we don't agree to this, like given the opportunity, I still think that other person would still take it, like because they did in the past. Of course they will in the future. Like I do not see how just having a conversation about it changes anything.
Like you can never 100% know like what the other person is thinking all the time, right? So that kind of trust level might be a bit like shaken,
Shaky,
broken.
like especially if something happened, it's just like it's so hard to argue against that in my opinion.
I think it's not like one size fits all. Like I think it's very different for each person, each like relationship that you have. I know like one of my closest friends, we kind of fell into that of like wanted to explore if there was anything there, and I think it's kind of like if it never happens, I guess you're always thinking about it. And I feel like that is what can bring instability to like a friendship, and which is why people like guys and girls can't be friends. But yeah, we like explored it a little bit, but obviously nothing that serious that we couldn't come back from. And obviously like after that we took a bit of a break from the friendship. We weren't like immediately like back into like buddy but after a while like reconnected because we were friends first, and I think that was important.
Always.
But now like we've talked about it, like we've reflected about it, and we're so much closer than we were before. And I think it's like now it's like we can have friendship without constraints or limits or doubts, because we know it's never going to happen again, and we're never going to go down that path again. And I feel like now it feels like a really safe relationship, because you don't ever have to question like, oh, does this person still want to try something with me or anything. So, but obviously like I wouldn't say that for everyone. Like there are some people, even if you have afterwards set boundaries, like this is not going to happen, it might not always be like
call them one night and be like, hey, do you want to hook up? Like will they say yes or no? Like
what are you doing?
Like what are you up to tonight? You know what I mean? Like
so where you at? Can I come over? And I think like that's also something that I think is like that needs to be considered, is that like we come from, I think our experiences tend to be that like we're very mature about the way we deal with that, in the sense that we're not necessarily people that are like gonna keep somebody hanging or keep someone like there to be like just the booty call, the drunk text. But you know, I think the majority of people, I do think, fall into the other category though, where they tend to avoid those type of conversations, and they tend to be like, they kind of beat around the bush, and then enough time passes and it's kind of like back to like just sweeping everything under the rug type of situation. Where I know we had a different argument about a different topic, which was along the same lines, where you know, the difference between like the ideal scenario and what I think is the reality of what is happening.
Because it's so easy for us to like talk about this now, but then it's another like, because we're thinking very like logically, rationally, but then it's another situation when you're in that moment,
and the emotions are running, everything's going fast,
and you think with your heart, or it's really hard to like
your heart or your dick or your vagina, like whichever one you're thinking with at that point, right?
Whichever one is being used to be, like really affects it.
But I think another thing we have to like say is like we're making the assumption that like in the instance of like girl guy best friends, that obviously you're attracted to the opposite sex. Right? Because like what if you're both
If you're
if you bat for the same team, well then like
or bat for
really
both
easy.
teams, then if bat for the both teams, like what are you just gonna be like? Oh, you can't have any best friend then. Like you just might not fuck everyone. Like
no best
yeah,
friend.
it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if it was like if your partner was bi, and then the best friend was like attracted to them as well. So
Yeah.
it was like the person they're best friends with is bi or whatever thing.
Yeah.
And it's like then it would be interesting because like I don't think that's actually considered as much.
Because at the end of the day, if like that mutual trust is there in a relationship, then like, it doesn't matter like how close they are with other people.
Yeah.
That's when it's a healthy relationship, right?
Yeah, like I do think the point on trust is like very like interesting. Like like ideally a relationship has all of those elements where you do trust the other person and it is very strong foundationally.
Yeah.
But I just think like I feel like the reality of the situation, the majority people are not in a situation where that is the case. And that's where I think this whole idea that like guys and girls can't be friends comes up entirely, right? And just with the lesbian part, like I'm not sure how that is, but like when you have the impression of guys and girls, it is like the impression that guys tend to be
The guys
more
just horn
forward,
dogs.
right? Yeah, they're more forward, they're more likely to like take the opportunity, take the shots, and they like more openly flirt, I feel, than girls generally. So it's like when the situation is that you have like a girl, like your girl, and then a girl best friend who is like interested in her, it's like I don't know if they're seen as like pursuing them the same way, where like given the opportunity, like a guy might take the opportunity, but I don't know if if another girl would take that opportunity, right?
I think like like no matter like I do agree that like guys it's like stereotypically like they just go ham, like they go for the only opportunity, right?
Yeah.
But like the fact that you're saying like the opportunity is given, like it wouldn't matter like even if it's like a non-cisgender role, if it's a woman, like I think if like everything like all the cards laid out on the table, they're like you want to smash, like it's like would they say yes or no? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then so then if you take the question in that route, then it's just like it doesn't matter what they are. It's just if they're honest, then like it'll come out, right? I think guys being more forward, that's only if like they're trying to ask them out or they are flirting with them while they're in a friendship, and then that's a bit different then, because then that's being more open about it, and I think that's better. Because if they're just like if they're not coming out with like how they actually feel, then that's the underlying like distrust that we were talking about. Like the friendship doesn't have like a base. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's a lot to like unpack, and it's like hard because there's no like one right answer to
Exactly,
it.
right?
Yeah. Jeanette, can I ask, like, so if you, like, right now, just called up your guy best friend and, like, asked him to smash.
Classic.
I just asked him to smash right now. Do you think he'd say
Well,
yes?
what do you think would happen?
Well, I'm trying to think like first who that would be. I don't think I have particularly like one like guy best friend.
Like-
I feel like I have like close guy friends.
Yeah.
But
So someone out of your top 5 then?
Yeah, out of the top 5, even, like, top 3.
Yeah.
Top 3 closest
I feel
guy
like
friends.
the first thing they would say is like, "What the hell are you like talking about?"
Is this a prank call, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, like, how quickly do you think they'd agree?
I don't think that quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
We dialing right now?
Yeah. Do you want
Dialing
to?
right now?
Do you want to?
Oh.
Yeah, do it.
Oh.
Do it. Dial right
Like
now.
I do want to.
Yeah, I do want to.
Now we're in this.
Should we? Should we?
Do it.
Let's do it.
Do
Are
it.
you on socials to get like 1,000 subscribers?
Yeah, done.
Hey, nah.
Yeah, and then comment with the phone. Oh,
Really?
Comment with the
this
phone
is
number.
your decision.
Wow.
I can do it.
Okay.
Is there someone top of mind for you?
I don't know.
Oh, and then you should do one with
you
your
know, like,
close
my
girlfriend.
friends.
My
Oh.
close girlfriends? Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Sorry?
No, dude.
Calls Niru.
Calls Niru. Hey, do you want to smash?
Yes.
That was a bit fast, bro.
That was a bit fast, right?
Remember, like, oh,
Yeah, no.
So this will officially be the last episode of our podcast.
This is the second and last episode. But no, that's interesting. Like if I was on the receiving end of a call like that, right? I think.
what would your first response
Ooh,
be?
yeah.
Like, if it was a close girlfriend and she like said out of the blue, like, not necessarily like want to smash, but like if she was just like,
I want to see how we go. Like
yeah,
if we go
like,
out.
would you be
yeah.
interested in exploring like something more than just friendship, or like do you want to go on a date?
Right. I think there is
What would
like
you say?
there is like a certain group of girls where I'm close with them where like I think I would say no regardless of how they present it to me, right? Whether it's a date, whether it's a smash.
Is that because you've already gone through that qualification process and you're like,
Yeah, and it's just like
disqualified?
yes, it's just disqualified and like to be honest, like I just don't like see them that way, right?
Yeah.
It's like even though I do think they're attractive and they're like attractive girls, I'm not attracted to them. I have like no desire to date them or sleep with them or anything like that. And it's like so I think there is a certain level of like friends where I'm like, like I'm not really gonna hit it, but there is also like right below that is a group where I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, so like tiers of it.
It's,
So
it's, it's very tiers of it.
Proportionally, like
Yeah.
what does that look like? What percentage are in like the definitely no? What percentage are like I'm open?
Very, very small percentages like in the definitely no. I think like definitely no. I think
Really?
it's like less than 5 girls. Less than 5 girls.
really?
Yeah.
How many guys?
How
I'm like, this for research.
many
Like,
guys? Dheeraj just wants to know if he's on the list.
dude,
or not.
tell me.
He's like, do I have a chance? Do I? Please. Yeah, every guy's on that list, bro. Like, I'm not smashing any guy.
Yeah, good.
I'm sorry,
Cool.
bro.
Yeah, cool, bro. Cool.
Maybe in the next life, yeah.
Ah.
Alternate universes, everything ever, all at once type of stuff.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Well, then what's like the number of girls that you'd not being like, oh, you'd 100% like date, smash, whatever.
But you would
like,
you'd be down to explore.
You'd be open to like if like a date. Like
Yeah.
what?
So I think there is like even with that, so it's like there's girls that I'm close with that I wouldn't date, wouldn't sleep with.
Yeah.
But then there's also like girls that I'm not close with that I wouldn't date, wouldn't sleep with. So like I'm not friends
Right.
with them or anything like that. But even if they were to express interest, I would still be like,
Dude,
no.
you know, it's like the fact that he said 5, just like all his mates listening will just be like, am I part of that 5? Like he said that concrete number.
am I in
Like
the
if he said a
5?
percentage, I think it would like it's easier to get away with because they don't know how much the
But
percentage
then,
is.
but
Yeah.
then the thing is, because he said like that's a small number, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking now like the number of girls that he'd be open to like dating is like, it's at least 5 or more.
Yeah. No, because I'm like, how many friends do you have?
right, yeah.
How many fucking friends do you have, bro? Like, what the
I
fuck?
want to go
Yeah.
to like mutuals and be like,
Yeah.
like mental like notes.
Well, like when I say friend, I also like
Acquaintance.
yeah, like
okay.
acquaintances also fall into
Okay,
that
fair,
category,
fair.
right?
Yeah.
It's like one message here and there, or we message like just occasionally to catch up.
Someone
type
you
of thing.
see in like a lord shoot,
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
I see. Okay, not that, but like if I've like so it's like if I've like talked to them like multiple times, even if I'm not caught up with them or I haven't
Yeah.
seen them, where it's like if I walk past them on the street, I'd probably stop and like
Have a
say
little
hi.
conversation or
Yeah,
something,
say
yeah.
like stop and say hi, like
It's like friendly but not close friends.
close
Yeah.
friends. Yeah.
Well then, what if like say, okay, if someone does like propose that like go on a date or something a bit more, do you feel like you could still be friends after if you do reject them and say no?
I do think so. Like,
Yeah.
it depends on how much they like me as well, right?
Yeah.
If it's just like because like I've had like in the past where like girls were just like wanted to go out more romantically,
Yeah.
and I didn't particularly want to. So like we would go out, but then like after that we'd still be friends because I'm just like I don't see you that way, and like I don't mind occasionally hanging out
Yeah.
and things like that. But then after that, becoming like a close friend is tough. I know like one of the girls that I was interested in high school, it was kind of like that where for like a year I was into her, very into her, and for a while she was into me as well. But then like it didn't work out. Like we never went out or anything like that.
Just
but-
the tension brewing the entire time.
just tension brewing the entire time. And then like we kind of established that it's probably best if we don't date, right, and never become like a couple. And then after that, for the year after that, like she was probably like my closest friend then, like or one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
Then, for a year after that, and then uni came in and we kind of grew distant. So, but like for a period, we were like very very close friends, even though it was like never going to be anything more than that. Even though we
Yeah.
were both previously interested in each other. So I do. It's a bit weird. It's a bit of like a
fair.
grey, and there's always going to be like exceptions and like ifs and buts to all of these statements. So it's just like, yeah.
Like what you're just saying there kind of reminded me. I feel like a lot of people, why they also like going back to the original topic of like, can guys and girls be best friends? I think a lot of the times when people say no, they can't. Part of it is because they know if they were in that position, they don't trust themselves to be completely platonic.
It's just projection.
Right?
It always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that is the case?
100%. Yeah.
Projection?
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
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 See, that's why like Niru's like he
No, because
knows he's
that's
not-
what I mean. Yeah.
I know that like I'm not 100% platonic with every girl that I'm friends with, right?
Every
And
girl,
it's like,
every female friend watching like faking like
You don't know if you're safe or not. Like,
you
just
don't know if you're
careful.
safe,
Yeah.
right? But it's like at the same time, like sometimes it is like a very high threshold that needs to be met, right? So some of them it is like they will have to make the first move before I ever do anything. Like I
Yeah.
will never, even if I'm like I'm certain that I think they're into me. They're like hinting this and that. Like I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like they need to make the first move or nothing's happening.
Okay.
I think in a lot of friendships it's interesting. Like at the start you might think like, oh, I see like a bit of potential. But it's interesting. It can go both ways. Like sometimes after you get to know them more, that you're kind of like, oh, actually like you realize more things as friends that like, oh, I actually don't really want that in a partner. We're not compatible in that way.
Yeah.
So there's times where you actually like that dies out if you don't like
100%. Yeah.
proactively do anything about it, right? But then other times it's like you kind of grow to like find more things.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I saw a Harvard study which was like it was like 80% plus of guys in relationships tend to like develop feelings more than like girls do. Why do you guys think like that's the case?
I think for me it's more of it's like a nurturing angle. So it's common that like it's like common trope that guys like growing up, they don't have like the emotional support, they don't have outlets to talk about their emotions, how they feel, and like just like daily stuff with their friends, right? It's more just like, hey, let's just talk about sports or whatever stereotype there is, right?
Yeah.
So then when they do find a close female friend or someone of the sex that they prefer, that's when they like put all their feelings into it. And then I think we were talking about it before, it's like when you confuse like being like loving someone as a friend or like something even more like a best friend or whatnot, and then being in love with them, that line gets really blurry if it's your first time expressing yourself to someone. And then it's really easy to fall into the trap of like, dude, I'm in love with this girl, I need to get with them. Like you never know, right?
I definitely 100% agree. Like you can have a lot of love for someone but not be in love with them.
Yeah.
And I feel like people can get really confused around how they feel in that way. But it's interesting that you said like guys like don't always like feel like very like vulnerable like growing up like with other friends and stuff, because I know some of my like guy friends, they always say like what they share with like they might be really like a lot closer to like guy mates, but like sometimes the depth of the friendship or what they share to a female friend is really different because they feel like they can add a different perspective or they'll understand more, be more like caring, nurturing in that sense. So I see like why a lot of like guy girl friendships develop, and then I think sometimes guys fall into that like, oh, like I didn't feel like I could open up to like anyone else like this, and then you're kind of like thinking. But like I kind of think though as well. Oh, I kind of lost my point.
Guys just horn dogs in general. They just want to smash. That's why the percentage is higher.
They want to smash.
Oh, so my point was gonna be like why I think that percentage of guys who realize like into a friendship that there might be something more. I feel like girls usually disqualify someone a lot earlier on. I feel like girls get to that point a lot quicker to be like, I see you as a friend or I don't see you as a friend. Whereas I think for guys, I think they don't realize like it takes like a longer time to nurture that, for them to come to the realization that hey, I might actually like this girl more than just like friends.
Yeah, like it's interesting because like for me personally, like I feel like I'm on the other side of that where I find it like I have never had the experience of like gradually falling in love with a girl, right? Where it's like we're in the sense of like we're friends and then now I'm into you. Where it's always like I
Day
always
one.
it's like day one, like day one I have like some interest in her that is I know is already more than friends, where it's like in my head I'm like she's not just a friend. And then it's happened where it's like talking to her then has like made that like skyrocket and it's gone like so much bigger where I'm like holy shit like type of thing. But the opposite is like is very rare. I have never like actually experienced that myself, where it's like that feeling of like I was like, oh maybe we should date. Mostly because I feel like when I do come up with that initial judgment of like, do I like you, do I not like you, it's because I tend to see why we wouldn't work out, right? Or like reasons why there is incompatibility and things like that. And I find it very hard to like move past that later, even if there's like there's things about that I like about this girl. It's like that deal breaker is still there, right? And that hasn't changed, and it's not something that I want to like change of her or expect her to change or anything like that. So it's like, and I don't think I could grow to love that, etc. So it's like I've never really had that experience going backwards. I've only had it going forwards. Has that ever happened with you?
I think I've got a very similar experience to you. It's kind of like I see like what their priorities are, what their ambitions are, like what they're really into, stuff like that. And I kind of see like, oh, their priorities kind of don't line up with mine. The values are a bit different. I don't see like us moving forward like anything more than just friends. I think that's like something that comes early on in like a friendship for me. And then on like the flip side as well, it's like if I'm dating someone and then I realize like, oh, we're not going to work a few weeks later into it or whatnot, I kind of have the regret of like, damn, like you would have worked as friends though. Like, I wish we didn't get into this. We
right.
could have just been friends like the entire time. But then you kind of lost that if you start dating straight away. You kind of lose like the ability to go to friends afterwards because like it's like built on the wrong foundation.
I know that I definitely like approach like friendship first, or even like for me, like before dating, ideally for me it's like I'm friends with someone because besides like the initial, you know, chemistry that you have with someone, like you want to know that like down the road, like a year, 5-10 years or more, you can still be friends. Like you have that foundation because like that honeymoon phase, whatever it is, that initial chemistry, it dies down. So
but I think that phrase is like a bigger can of worms though, because it's like if you're like, oh, I want to be friends first, then now every guy friend is on the table, right? And it's like and like
interesting,
then like, that question of can guys and girls be friends is just proven wrong, right?
If
because
everyone's an
it's
option,
like
then.
if everybody is if every friend is suddenly an option, maybe the close friends are off the table, but now everybody else is on the table, and that's like in a sense worse, right? And
I
like,
see that. I definitely see that. I think it depends because it depends as well if you actually like action any of those feelings or you do anything about it. Because if it's just like silently like in your own like head, something you're like thinking about or considering, then I don't think it's that big an issue, right? Like it's not like you're saying to every guy like, hey, you might have a chance.
If you're lucky, you're in the lottery. You're in the lottery. You're with me. You know what I mean?
It's a gotcha pool, bro. It's a gotcha
You're in the
pool,
Canada pool. But yeah, like it's more. Well, it depends because I think. Well, trying to think about like my own personal experience, right? I think when you meet people, most people fall into that bucket of like you might be a bit interested or not, like just based on like physical attraction or initial vibes, if you want to say, like you.
Mood vibes. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, the mood, the vibes. Like a lot of people will already like cut certain people based on like yes or no, right? You get through that initial threshold because like you can deny it, but like everyone judges a book by its cover.
Yeah, 10%. Yeah, for sure.
And then I think after that point, those people, it's like you could try to like be friends or just like get to know someone first. Because I feel like sometimes when you like dive deep too early, like that's where you get into the point, like you said, where it's like, oh, like crap, I kind of realized like we would have been better as friends. Like we kind of preemptively jumped into something and it's hard to bring it back. So I feel like maybe like this is a more like a girl thing, but I think we tend to try be friends first, and then over time, like after you spend more time with someone, like hang out, all of those things, that's when you either realize like you go down two paths. Either one is like there could be something, and you like friends. Keep kind of like you keep an eye out, but you don't do anything about it. And then the other is like this is just friendship.
Fair.
But then I think you need to get to a certain point where you're like, yes.
You have to make the decision at the end of the road, right?
Yeah.
I've actually heard like the opposite more for girls, where it's like you are either on the ladder that's like that has the potential to become a boyfriend, or you're not on that ladder and you cannot change, right? It's like kind of like being stuck in the friend zone type thing. And it's like the way it was described to me before seemed like the bucket or the ladder where leads to boyfriends is
it's like such a long ladder.
It's a long ladder, but it's like fewer people are on that ladder as well. Like getting on that ladder is already hard. Where it's like
snakes and ladders here.
Bro, we should actually play snakes and ladders. I'm keeping
we play snakes and ladders, but it's just Janette's boys.
There's all the different names and shit. Yeah,
all the different names. They each have their own piece and stuff. Like
I think I'm like lean because like from the experience that I've had like in the dating pool and whatnot, like I'm normally the one being asked out. So then,
just flexing on all of us.
No, but as in like
I'm usually getting asked out. Like,
no, it's because I've got no risk, so somebody else has to do it. So then, for me, it's like I'm not the one who's like initiating. It's like the woman initiating, if that makes sense. So then they didn't kind of like wait to like see if like it's a friendship or thing. They kind of just dove in.
Well, maybe they already went through their ladder first, and then like you just
you just
I just happen to be at the bottom. No, I'm just like the guy at the bottom, but like fuck, fine, I'll give you a go, bro.
Like everybody else didn't work out, so
I guess he's there. God, ugh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You've never made the move first.
Like, not for like date. Like, unfortunately, not.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a fun
fact.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Wow. W Riz.
That's crazy, right? Like
no, that means I've got no Riz.
Do other guys have this experience? Like,
you
does
got the
anybody?
silent Riz.
The silent Riz, that's spoken Riz.
Someone into rizzing
that's
you.
Oh.
I think for girls, like there is a portion where it's like we're more certain on whether someone has potential or not, and I think once we're set on like no, it's hard to
get out of that.
Shift that.
Yeah. That's what the friend zone thing is, like you were saying. It's such a big thing, right?
Yeah.
You can't get out.
That's
Yeah.
actually interesting coming out of Janette though.
Why?
Because it's like, I feel like you have gone on dates with your guy friends though.
But they might have been on the ladder then.
They were, so were they
Oh,
already
They were
on the ladder?
Oh,
Like,
okay.
And like,
I think-
it's more than one
So
or
I was
two,
gonna
right? The
say-
reason I bring
Yeah.
this up is because like
It's
all
three.
of them are like,
no,
wait,
it's three. It's three. Yeah, go on.
Wait, can you say names or like bleep it out?
Can I say names? No, because I'm editing this. I don't want to bleep it out.
Or yeah, there was like Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise,
yeah,
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, those guys.
DiCaprio,
DiCaprio.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
young DiCaprio. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
young
Yeah,
DiCaprio.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, or if it's not like dating, there's like some history with like the 90% of guys that like Janette talks about.
No,
It's like there's some history.
Fake news.
It
Fake
is
news.
not fake news.
It's
I
not 90.
can-
Dude,
I
it's
got
like 87 max. I'm telling you.
I got receipts.
Dude, come on. Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Cause there's a difference between no and
Maybe.
having considered,
Right.
and I think that's where it comes from. Like, I've just never considered it. Like, when I first met them, they haven't been on my radar of like, oh, I'm interested. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I haven't been like, they've done something where I'm definitely like, no, I don't see myself
Yeah.
dating.
Fair.
So I feel like,
I'm sorry. I would like to disagree to that point because that has happened.
wait,
But anyway,
who?
keep
I'm
going,
so
keep
curious.
going. From when we were working at Amex, the dude that was there that you were. Oh wait, fuck, he's gonna know who it is.
Shout out to you, bro. I have no idea what's going on. But fuck you, you're done. Like,
Wait, which one?
oh, which one? No.
oh my goodness.
That person fell into the category
Because
of
okay, so I asked her about him, and she told me, she's like, no, he seems like a fuck boy. Like it's not. I don't think it's gonna really happen. I don't see anything happening there. Like he's not really someone I want to get involved with. And then like a year later, she's like, so.
Oh.
She
Oh.
she got like
It
a
was more
fat
than
hickey
a
on her
year.
neck and shit. I'm
it
like,
was more than a
oh
year.
boy,
Um,
yeah,
That was okay. There's like different types of
There's,
love.
there's exceptions though.
yeah.
There's exceptions to the rule. It's cool. Yeah.
Janette's just like ladders.
I'm trying to think which
Everything's
category,
a
right?
ladder.
'Cause it's like a Venn diagram. You have one, it's like
Ooh.
could be
I
potential,
like that.
right?
Yeah.
The other is like no, and then the middle is
No, but could have potential. That is what the middle is. That is what the middle is.
It is actually no, but could have potential.
No,
Honestly,
Yeah.
with
No, but I get you.
swear
No,
to
I get you. Because like sometimes it's like hard to rule out anybody's complete no. Like you never know what happens in the future. Like how you change, how people change, right?
It's like, but
Yeah.
like so that person fell into the category of
No, but could be.
they fell into the category. It was like I didn't really see like a relationship or like dating like that realistic or like something on the table. Just because like the type of people we were like didn't know each other well enough for me to be like confidently like this is someone I'd want to be a partner. Also like age factors, like mix of things, right? But at the same time, like there was some sort of like attraction.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like the middle area where it's like either or, it could go both ways.
You got a shit personality, but I think you're hot. So like, what do we do from here?
This is like, I swear, like so many girls are like this, right? Where they're like, oh, he's a fuck boy, he's this, he's that, like he's gonna
But damn.
he's gonna treat me so shit,
Yeah.
but damn, I want to go to the back seat with him though. Like, come on, like.
I can change him.
Yeah,
I can change him.
This, that, and like they never fully like accept it, right? They're like, I'm like, bro, if you just want the dick, like just tell, just say.
It's okay
you
to
want
say,
it,
yeah,
just
it's
you
okay to
want
say,
it.
yeah.
But they're like, no, it's not that. Like, you know, he's actually like not that bad. Like, I was like, he's not that bad. You know, he's just like that to others. this,
Whenever
that.
someone brings up like their partner or someone they're dating is like not that bad, like,
Yeah.
they're like, bro, you don't fucking like him. You don't like him then.
Or when people like introduce someone, they're like, oh, like they're not really photogenic, but like
Yeah.
it's like the same thing.
It's like, you know,
right?
they're ugly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like so many girls are like that, where they create all these Venn diagrams and shit to like
Yeah.
justify what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, dude, just be real. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to like to say that, but
Yeah.
so many of them don't, and that's what, like pisses me off when that happens. I'm just like, bro, like it's obvious what you want. Just say what you want.
I think it's just
Yeah.
like
Don't
a
be wishy-washy.
yeah, just
Exactly.
be upfront. I think it's like our society shifting towards more like everyone just being more open about their sexuality. Before it was like guys can say they're fucking around, but like if a woman says that, you're like, yeah.
But I feel like that comes down to, or why you feel like a lot of girls say that, it's because there's such like a impression around girls of like if they do that,
It's like they're a host.
They're
Like it's a
kinda
negative
trashy or,
connotation.
like,
Yeah.
you know, they're just easy. You know,
It's like the opposite for guys. It's like positive connotation.
But then for guys,
yeah.
it's like, oh, they've got like experience.
Bro,
and,
pimp,
like,
bro, dude, absolute Riz God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this guy, like, you know, he's all game. Whereas
Yeah.
like, a girl, it's like totally different. Which is why I feel like girls play in that middle area where it's like they don't want to get like bunched into that group of like, oh, she's.
But I feel like them not expressing it like that leads to being bunched like that though, because it's like if you're hiding it but then still going for it, then it's kind of hypocritical. Whereas like if you're just embracing it, just going for it, then it's like cool, there's like nothing to be ashamed of, there's really nothing to be scared of, right?
I think lesson learned, nothing to be ashamed of if you don't tell Niru.
Just don't tell Niru anything.
Don't tell me, yeah. Just like, bro, don't come to me and like be on call for like an hour and a half about why he's treating you shit, but you're still going over to his house tomorrow. Like, don't do this to me.
This is PTSD.
This is just about Janette.
Is it?
It's just
Do I
me
fall
ranting
into
about
this
Janette.
category? I'm like,
There's also 5 girls that fit into this category as
There
well.
are 5 girls that fit into this category, and I'm
like,
tired.
Don't call me to about this. I'm like, I've done that. But then you're like, oh, going to like this guy's house and that. I'm like, I haven't done that. And I'm like,
It's kind of I just go to this guy's house and complain about my love life. Like it's a bit different, you know.
Yeah.
It's a bit different.
Yeah.
It's a bit different. Yeah. Just like speaking of like, you brought up that, you know, when if a girl sleeps around, it's different to a guy sleeping
Yeah.
around. Like, do you guys think there is a difference? Like, do you guys see it? Do you guys see it differently?
Not really. Like if people have hoe phases, people have like they just want to be like a bit more settled down. Some people in a relationship.
And like,
Sorry.
yeah, and I think like to an extent, like whether or not somebody sleeps around, guy or girl, I don't think it really affects like their value as a person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I think I saw something on TikTok where it was like, of course, everything's on TikTok.
It is. It's the sort of main platform, bro.
Everything's on TikTok, including us.
Oh, good
It's
plug, good plug. I like that. I like that.
Yeah. I saw something on TikTok where it was like, you know, it doesn't affect your personal value, but it should and probably does affect your dating value. And I was like, that's kind of an interesting take because like separating dating value from personal value, I think is like to me seemed like a valid way of looking at it. And I just want to see what you guys' thoughts were on that.
I agree on that.
Okay.
But I think like when it comes to value, I think it's not one size fits all value.
Yeah.
Like I think everyone's value is different.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, this is my like dating value, personal value, and like I'm gonna fit that onto you. I don't think that's the case.
Or maybe it should be dating values rather than dating value. So it's like you value something more than the other. So it's like certain categories of values rather than just an outright value. Because I think like, I was thinking of something like that where it's like, I don't think it's particularly bad for a guy or a girl to be sleeping around, but I do think it is like to some extent a reflection of a person's values, right? Like dating values. And I think like if we can like discriminate on height, on like gender, if we can discriminate on the cultural background of somebody, right? Like a lot of people are like, I'm only dating Asians or I'm only dating like specifically Chinese people or like specifically.
That's just another category, right?
It's just like so like that. Like this canon should be just another category, and I think just like with if like somebody is like, oh, I exclusively only date Asians, then it's like problematic. Just like that, if somebody's like, oh, I exclusively only date people that have like 0 body counts, like then I think that becomes problematic. But if somebody's like, oh, I want it to be like plus or minus what my body count is, I think that's perfectly valid for them to really put that on there. And I like a lot of people I know like get triggered even with that, and I'm just like, that's a bit sus that you're triggered about it. It's just like,
I think it's a fair point because I think like a lot of people get critiqued on having preferences, and I don't think like that's a bad thing. I used to think like, oh, does it make you shallow to only want specific things? But I think because I like talked to some people who are also in relationships, and they were kind of saying like their perspective is no, because you should have your like preference, and like that is what differentiates a friend versus a partner.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point about like preferences being fair for each person. I just don't like, I guess the term I associate with the value of like personal value and like dating value, it kind of makes it seem like an equation. Like what you want is just like, I want this characteristic times this characteristic plus this characteristic equals the partner I want. And then relationships, love is so much more complicated than that. Like there can be someone who you don't think ticks like all the objective boxes you want to, because there's no like, and then they end up being your perfect partner.
Yeah, like it obviously is more nuanced than just like a dating value, right? Which is like why I was like trying to term it as like dating values. So when you find like some alignment where it's like you're not looking for like the perfect, it ticks every box person, of course, and it's like, people can also like shock you. Your like
Yeah.
for initial judgment can be very different, and it's like people with, you know, different that tick different boxes to what you initially thought can be like more amazing than you ever imagined, right?
Yeah.
And like that's happened to me before, where it's like I've met a girl and I was like, I like initially I was like, you don't really hit those boxes. Like I'm not probably not gonna like pursue much here. And then I talked to her for like 5 minutes and I'm like in love. I'm just like, whoa. So it's like, so I think they're both possible, right?
Yeah. And on the flip side's possible as well.
Yeah, the flip side is possible
Very
as well, where
possible,
you're
yeah.
like, your initial judgment is already correct.
Perfect.
And
It's
just
like, oh no, it's like they're perfect. And then there's like 5 minutes and you're like, fuck me, bro.
Dude, yeah, that has happened.
This is just stop talking, please. You were perfect. You were perfect. Yeah.
Wait, has it happened to you guys? Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's happened to me so
Unfortunately.
much. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Like which way?
Like,
Yeah,
isn't
they're perfect, and then it's like, oh my god.
because like that's the whole like potential thing. It's just. It's not that they're bad or anything like that. It's just our values aren't as similar as like I want it to be. And then from the outside, you're like, oh, dude, I think we'll be similar. And then like, psych, you're not at all.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I think where are we going to with the values? You want to bring something up?
About preferences,
Yeah.
right? You're talking about preferences.
Yeah,
And,
that's how you meet a partner. That's how you choose your partner, then, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is how you choose partner.
Yeah.
No, there's another point I wanted to make around that. Just like in if you kind of dive a bit deeper into preferences and saying, I think there's we sort of touched on it a little bit before, but around, you know, how much a girl dates around or a guy dates around or delves into like sleeping with other people. It's
Ooh, this actually raised something, so maybe we can come back to you when you like
sorry,
figure
come
out.
back to me when
It was like I saw like discussions about making a female James Bond, right? And I like was like initially I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense, like why not? But then I realized like potentially a lot of James Bond tropes like don't work for a woman, right?
Yeah.
And like one that I want to talk about specifically here is that like one of the James Bond tropes is like every time there's like there's Bond and then there's a Bond girl,
Yeah.
right? And like, you know, he like swoops in, he's a playboy, can like sweep
Yeah.
up this girl, and that is seen as cool, right?
Yeah.
That is seen as like all the guys are like, shit, wish that was me,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, I wonder if the flip side happened, would that same admiration be there, right? Where it was like so we have a female Bond and then like she like pulls a dude,
Yeah.
and like yeah, initially it's like, yeah, a lot of people I don't think would have that same kind of like, damn, wish that was me moment.
Yeah. I think a lot of that is like there's like a social bias kind of that like it is a lot easier for women to pull a guy.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh, like what's so impressive about that? Like if it's James Bond, it's like, oh, he ticks off those boxes of like he's a good-looking guy, he's very charismatic, he's got like the charm, money, like everything that a guy would want, like stereotypically, right? But then with a woman, it's like a woman kind of gets a guy from like, oh, they just look pretty, so like, oh, that's all she's doing then.
Yeah, I
And then it's
think
kind of
it's
just downplayed for no reason.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, he is James Bond,
Yeah.
but like him being James Bond doesn't automatically get him pussy, right? He
Yeah.
has to like actually, even he needs to like put in effort.
Fun fact, have you seen Octopussy? A real James Bond movie. It's called
Yeah,
Octopussy.
it's called
Really?
Octopussy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
It's one of the
Yeah.
older ones.
Yeah, it's like Roger Moore or something back in
Yeah.
the 80s.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, wild.
That's actually okay. So I had like 2 points. You get that actually leads well nicely to like what I wanted to say before. But on the one hand, like it made me think like if you think of like a Bond character, I'm like, imagine if it was like Wonder Woman just had like all these guys like for her. Do
Yeah.
you feel like
Well-
people would love her in the same way, or just be like, she's just a pretty face? Rather
Yeah,
than,
no, like Wonder Woman, it's interesting because Wonder Woman has slept with a lot of
Yeah.
DC characters, like Superman and stuff.
Yeah.
Has had romantic relationships, and I think like to my knowledge, it actually hasn't negatively affected her that much.
But I feel like that's because in the storyline they don't talk about how, like, sure in the comics like they get into that, but in the movies they don't address like
Yeah.
her history with the other DC characters,
Yeah.
right? Which is why I feel
Because
like it
in the
doesn't really
in like the
impact-
movies, she doesn't have that
it's
history
just
Yeah.
like Chris
right?
Pine. I
Yeah.
can't remember his
Chris, yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the
I
one
think-
guy. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's interesting because like a lot of the topics around like She-Hulk and that show, because like they do show She-Hulk sleeping around with guys in
Yeah.
that, and it's like, you know, like She-Hulk is not the most loved MCU TV show.
Okay, let's not say it's because she's sleeping around with guys.
Yeah, it's not because of that. It's not because of that. But it is like I have seen a lot of people talk about that
Yeah,
as well,
for
as
sure.
being like I think one of the issues with superhero movies is that like the majority of people watching that are guys.
Yeah.
And it's like guys don't necessarily want to see that part, right?
Yeah.
And it's like one thing that was really funny to me that I saw was like talking about female characters written by men in the MCU and female characters written by women
yeah.
in the MCU.
So different.
And yeah, it's so different. But She-Hulk was written by a woman.
Yeah.
And it is the only MCU show where a female character has twerked on screen.
Yeah.
And I was like,
But that's, I think,
yeah,
That's like
like-
societal biases, like you're
Yeah.
talking about. Like it's
Yeah.
so ingrained
yeah.
in how we think about typical like female male like roles in society.
Yeah. But I think with that one's a bit more tricky because it goes into like reclaiming, like women
Right.
using the word bitch, like, or like, and using like the words like Cardi B and like Megan Thee Stallion. They use the word vagina, pussy, like very frequently. And then
Yeah.
that's kind of them reclaiming that power of like, this is my body. I am that bitch. Like I can use this word.
I am that
The-
bitch.
You know what I mean? Like they are that.
yeah, they got that. yeah.
So I think that's maybe what She-Hulk was trying to do because Megan Thee Stallion was literally twerking
Yeah,
as
she was
She-Hulk.
twerking with
Yeah.
So I think that
She-Hulk,
was
yeah.
more of like an empowering thing
Yeah.
that just came across wrong. I think if it was written better,
Yeah,
and the
it
show
would've
wasn't
worked,
a pile
yeah.
of shit, it would have worked well.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of the way it was set up. It wasn't the
I
best.
haven't actually seen this show, so I'm
The show like
f-
yeah.
is quite problematic because like one of the scenes is where like I remember where the like She-Hulk is like talking about being able to control anger better than the Hulk.
Oh, that was like the main
right?
scene. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like one of the like that scene I think was written very poorly because it's like she complains about getting mansplained to about her job as a lawyer and like getting catcalled and things like that. She's like, you know, I'm sick and tired of men explaining to me how to do my job, right? When I already know how to do it and I'm like better than them at doing that. And like, but here we have She-Hulk who is literally like belittling the 15 years of experience that Bruce Banner has
Yeah,
as the Hulk,
yeah.
being like, I am infinitely better at being the Hulk than you are. When she's been a Hulk for like a week, when he's been at it for 15 years.
I think that ties well into like actual writing. Because at that point, she's just it comes off as very preachy. Like this is just not in movies or shows. Like just any speech you hear, right?
Yeah.
Are you more likely to listen to like a radical leftist progressive person, or would you rather listen to someone who's like can actually understand your values and stand somewhere in the middle and have like a actual proper discussion about it rather than being like, you don't understand. Oh, blah, blah. Like that's why feminism got such a bad rap in the first place, right?
yeah.
Feminism is something that everyone's with the brain is like a part of. You just believe in equality, equity, all that kind of jazz, right? But it's turned into like, oh, people think feminism is just somebody with like a red mohawk screaming at men for like, you don't have to give birth, you're a piece of shit. Like,
people always think of the extremes.
Yeah.
When you talk about that.
it's unfortunate, right? There's so much grey. It's like 90% of people are in the grey, but the 5% on either side stand out to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the previous point you were saying about like Bond and all that, obviously.
Oh, yeah,
talking about,
Bond,
like,
yeah.
Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
But I think there's so much like socially ingrained. Like we still have a lot of ways to go to
Yeah.
sort of bridge the gap in terms of equality of how we treat like men or how we see men and women in relationships and
Yeah.
not having double standards. Because
100%.
I think one really common thing is like this is where it changes a bit from preferences to like what people think is like right or wrong or
Yeah.
like is just they take as the norm.
Yeah.
But say like with guys and girls in relationships, like I think we've perpetuated for a long time that guys always want someone who's really innocent, hasn't really dated around that much, whatnot. But then they always assume that on the other hand, like girls want a guy who's really experienced.
Yeah.
And it's like we've talked, like it's like guys, if they're really experienced, we see them as like, oh, they've got really good game.
Yeah.
They're so experienced, like he's such a
Like
cool
just
dude,
straight into the
like,
James
top
Bond trope,
dude.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
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 But then if a girl does that, it's like, oh, she's really slutty, or she's so easy, or like, who wants that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that is interesting because I do think like to an extent, even the opposite, where the guy is like a playboy, is a fuckboy type thing, is glamorized by other women as well, and
Yeah.
they are seen as like the archetypal male
Yeah.
to aspire for. But then like it's like, or he gets all the girls in the world, but he's gonna pick me. But he's gonna
It's
see
like the
me.
reverse psychology.
Yeah.
Like you want to feel like you're the special
Yeah.
one that
Yeah.
he'll change for.
But
That
that's
he'll
like
change
such an unhealthy mindset that people have that comes from like we were talking about this as well. Like it all kind of just delves into like the social norms that like the patriarchal social norms of like guys can fuck around, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and it was around. They were saying why a girl's body count matters more than a guy's body count is because like girls hold the power for sex. Do you guys feel like that's true?
I think so. Yeah.
I think once again that's a generalization, of course, but like
Yeah,
I think
it is-
most
it is, yeah,
yeah,
like-
but like most I think more often than not, yeah, I think so.
Why is that the case?
Because-
Because it takes two to tango, right?
100%,
Like, yes,
100%.
it takes
Yeah.
two hands to clap.
But why do
right.
you feel like it's more in the power of the girl?
Okay, like to be honest, guys in general are more horn dogs. Like
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
sense that the way it is, the current dating pool works is that it is usually the guy that has to make the first approach, that has to ask the girl out first, that needs to get the number, that needs to be funny, needs to do this, needs to do all these steps.
They have to earn them.
Yeah, it's so when it is like the guy that has to approach, it is then in the girl's power to like accept or reject. So it is just an extension of that, of whether or not that leads to them having sex, right? Because if the girl accepts or rejects at the start, then again she has another opportunity to accept or reject, or even she can make the first move after that, but she eventually still had to accept or reject that first approach. The situation where a woman is approaching a guy just like straight up and then also expressing interest to have sex is just like statistically significantly lower. It's like, I'd probably say it's in the single digits where that is happening. In terms
I think
of, like,
that kind of
all the
loops
approaches.
back to like the norms that we're talking about. Like the reason, it's like a kind of cyclical thing, right?
Yeah.
The reason this is happening is because like there's that notion that women aren't supposed to ask, it's the guys that should ask, and then that kind of cycles back into women do have the power because that norm is kicking in, and that kind of flows back into it.
In that sense, then, do you feel like a girl's body count holds more significance than a guy's body count?
'Cause-
Because of that premise, or just like statistically speaking, like.
I don't like, statistically speaking, I think for more guys it would hold. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't believe
it's
it's
different, right?
Yeah, like that's to each person. Like personally, I don't think it matters at the end of the day because each person is different. They're all making their own decision with their own bodies. To each their own, right?
Yeah. Have you guys seen that the statistic? It's somebody else that has a different podcast that talks about this, where she's like, statistically, like where a woman has a body count higher than 5, the chances of them ending up in a happy relationship, happy marriage, reduces by 80%, as opposed to women that have like successful marriage with body count less than 5. And the idea was that when women have body counts higher than 5, the ability to emotionally connect with each partner decreases. And I think I've talked to Janette about this before, and I'm like, I can see the logic and the way that would happen. And I don't think 5 is like a hard cutoff where it's like if you're 6, damn, done.
Done. Right? You're not a chance, bro.
not
Not
a
a chance.
You just can't build any
Marriage?
emotional capacity like
Well, I don't think that's the case. For some people it might be more, some people it might be less. But I just think like thinking about it from like evolutionary standpoints and from the way dating works, I think like it's reasonable and understandable that 80% statistic happens. But I just wanted to see what you guys' thoughts were on that. Like,
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
Like mix of.
I think that might depend like what they mean by like being partners. Like because emotionally, like if you're like having 5-6 partners that you've had like 3-4 year long relationships with, then that takes a different toll to like you slept around with like 5-6 people. That's a very different thing.
I think the statistic was just that if they've had more than 5 sexual partners, then the likelihood decreases.
I think that's capped then.
The thing is though, like when you first told me about that stat, I was very surprised. Because I feel like globally, if you look at like statistics of like average number of sexual partners someone has had, I feel like it's above 5.
No, I don't think so.
Is it?
Because
Really?
it is only
In the Western
countries. Western countries and probably some Asian regions is where above 5.
Asia's getting wild now.
Because I think like Asia
now,
is
like,
pretty
with,
wild.
But now with like hookup culture and things like that, I feel like that number is.
The number
But
is
then it's kind of okay. So I think
the number is rising, but I think that doesn't change the fact. Like the second step of that doesn't change, right? Like the likelihood of a successful marriage after that can still continue to decrease, even though the average relationship or the average person has more than 5 partners, right?
I wonder though, like breaking that apart a bit, like what specifically is it? Like, is it just that like they don't have more emotional capacity?
But emotional
Or,
capacity
like,
doesn't make sense. Like for me, it's
So
It depends like how you approach sex as well. Like some of it's just strictly physical. Other people like have an emotional attachment. But like what else is it that contributes to that high
it's like-
percentage of not working out?
So my understanding from what that study was essentially looking at was like when like women tend to have like sexual partners, they tend to be more emotionally connected with that person after they have sex, right? And it's like sex kind of creates those elevated levels of emotional connection. So as that elevated level of emotional connection continues to happen with multiple people, it kind of builds like that kind of becomes the norm and the standard, and then they can no longer differentiate like the previous from the current, or like another person tend to have that same levels, right? And again, this is dependent on people and things like that, but this is like just what my understanding was from that podcast and like reading online.
I feel like that's like a very odd study. Like who was like your target audience that they actually used? Like was it people in the 1980s where the social norms were so different?
So different, yeah.
That like that was actually pretty rare for like someone to like sleep with 5 people.
5 people, yeah.
But nowadays, like with hookup culture and everything, like that's the norm, right? There's nothing special about that.
Wait, so was that just for women? Like
The-
women who have had like
Yeah,
five
it's
plus?
probably just for
This
women.
was it was women's
I
centered,
wonder
but there were multiple studies.
comparatively- I wonder comparatively for men
Yeah.
who have had 5 plus, what's the percentage
Yeah.
there?
Mm.
That
I
would
think-
be really
yeah.
because I do believe that I do believe and agree that women tend to build emotional connections quicker, like especially, and I think that's also why like you have a higher chance of women who like wait before sexually engaging with someone than like men do
Yeah.
proportionally.
Do you think that's like tying back into the cycle of norms though, like of what society sees should happen?
It is a bit. That's
Yeah.
why I feel like there's definitely a lot we can do to change that perception.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there should be a double standard that like, or like just perceptions and perceptions, how we perceive women who have had more partners, whereas like men who've had more partners.
Yeah.
We can do so much to change that, and just because it's been like that in the past doesn't mean we have to accept that going forward in the future.
I think going back into like guys why it's like they prefer someone with less experience, it kind of ties back into like the I guess like a overload of insecurity that a lot of guys have when it comes to performing like that, because going back into the cycle, every guy wants to be that James Bond, right?
Yeah.
So then if they're like if a woman has slept with more people, they're like worried about like, oh, I'm not James Bond, am I able to perform as well as the other partners then? Like, did she date James Bond before me? Like, am I
Yeah.
good enough? And then that kind of ties back in.
Like I wonder, does it like I remember I was talking to somebody else about this where it was like this was a few years ago where I was like saying it's like what if you're not better than somebody else that she slept with in the past,
Yeah.
right? And it's like I know like a lot of girls are like, oh no, it's different. It's like, you know, if you love them, it doesn't matter, all of that.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of girls, even guys, like rank like sexual compatibility quite highly in a relationship, which I don't agree with, but they rank it very highly.
Yeah.
So it's like, in a sense, your ability to perform sexually is directly related to like how valuable you're perceived as a partner, if you're a guy or a girl. So it's like, I think it is like to an extent a valid insecurity to have.
Yeah.
Every time I've brought this up with a girl, the answer is always no, it's different.
Yeah.
But it's just like, is it really though?
But then, like, you have to get to that point where it is different.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be properly in love. Like, I think at that point, it like nothing matters. Like, if you actually are in love
yeah,
with
if
someone,
you like,
nothing
yeah,
else
exactly.
matters.
If you like,
But I get where there's, like what you're saying. I
That's
get
the
where
thing,
this gets.
it is different.
It
Like,
is no like 100 even for guys
bullshit,
like
Janette.
no, but like on both sides
Yeah.
for guys as well,
No,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
different
Yeah.
with like the
Yeah.
person you love. It's it's just a different feeling, right?
Yeah, it's like over time as all those things change, and
Yeah,
it's,
but if you're with the same person for like a fucking like a year, you'll get better for each other. Like you will
Yeah,
know what
this
each other
is-
likes.
Yeah, this was like this is
yeah.
why I disagree with like
Yeah.
sex being ranked so highly, because
Yeah.
it's like sex is a learnable skill. Nobody is born as like
Born bad,
Johnny
born
Sins,
good.
right?
Yeah.
No one comes out like Johnny Sins,
Except
like,
Johnny
Giga
Sins.
Chad-
But
except
that's
Johnny
the thing,
Sins,
With
right?
any skill or talent, some people are just more naturally skilled, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, they're
but
not, or
yeah.
people pick up on skills.
Yeah, a bit faster, a bit slower.
quicker
Yeah.
than
Easier,
others,
quicker
you
and
know,
faster,
like-
yeah.
But then
It's
some
just
people,
like
but like
anything
everyone's different. Who your partner is, right? Whoever you're sleeping with, they're all different. So at the end of the day, like you will have to change a little bit to suit them. You have to communicate,
Yeah.
and then over time, like it doesn't matter, like you said, right? It's not a big deal.
I feel like we're like definitely like sharers, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I don't have anything to hide.
Yeah.
I like to have like I feel like in a relationship it's like, what do you have to hide? Like
Yeah.
you're sharing all of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And sure, it doesn't mean like day one you share it all.
Yeah. By the way,
But-
so many more than you, bro. Sorry.
yeah, but it's like over time I think it is something that you should share. And like, because I know some people, they're like, oh, I would never share like my body count, or like
Yeah.
what's the point talking about like past relationships, like
Yeah.
that's the past for a reason, they're an ex for a reason, which is like, but I think there's so much you can learn from a person's previous relationships, so much, like
Yeah.
it really, those people and experiences shape who your partner is today.
100%. Yeah.
And having an understanding and a picture of that, I think really helps to build that for you as well. And because like for me as well, like I would want to know, like it helps me understand like who my partner wants to be with now based on those relationships, because I know that's like for me how I've gotten here.
Yeah. Like one thing is like them just saying like, oh, this is like what I want in this relationship, and then you can actually see through their history like what led them to this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to like the question of like, do you want someone with a body count like higher or lower, like what?
What do you want?
Like,
I
how
mean, you're
do
the
you
single.
feel
Yeah.
if it was either way, Niru.
If
Ladies, if
Huh?
you listen, ladies,
ladies,
Yeah.
listen up.
Ladies,
No, I think like for me, it's like like initially, if I had to pick, it's like, yes, I would want somebody that's lower.
Yeah.
Like,
Why?
but huh?
Why?
Purely partly because of that the like underlying insecurity that I might not be
Yeah.
the best. I'm probably not going to be the best, right? Like
Yeah.
at the start.
Nah, bro,
working
he's got that hard working. I see that dog in him, bro. Yeah, he's gonna get there. He's gonna
I'm a
get there.
hustle, bro. I'm a hustle, right?
It's like the mentality. It's like if the girl's single, you gotta compete with the whole male population. If
Bro,
she's in a
relationship.
relationship,
Bro, there's one goalie,
one
bro.
One goalie, right? Yes. Yeah, like even that. So it's like just purely based on that, like yeah, like I think lower, but yeah, I think it probably will not be like an immediate deal breaker unless it's like unreasonably high, I think. Like if it's like if you're hitting like triple digits, I think that's a bit sketch, like on any part.
Dheeraj just like shaking. He's like, oh.
Dheeraj is like yeah.
If they're checked out for STIs and stuff,
Yeah.
like it's cool then. It's cool though. It's cool.
Yeah, no, but I think I actually like judge guys as well. Like when
Yeah.
I hear about guys that have high body counts as well, like I'm like disgusted for them as well. Like,
You're like, bro, close your legs.
yeah,
Dude,
I'm just like,
Fine, bro.
honestly, dude, like anything, like bro, like has the post nut clarity not hit? Like
Yeah.
genuinely,
Like, stop projecting that fuckboy trope. Like,
yeah, like bro, no,
But that's good
sometimes-
quality.
you're
Like,
like ruining girls.
you're for the rest of us, bro.
No, sometimes like I see like some of the girls that my friends are sleeping with, and I'm just like, bro,
Really?
Like,
Really?
just like actually, dude, like.
There's more to people than what they look
Yeah,
like.
I'm just like, dude, like, but this personal clarity, like, not hit. Like, what is this?
Yeah. So I've got a question to challenge you though. Like in terms of like if a girl has lower, say like she before you, it's like 0 or 1.
Yeah.
Do you not think that like maybe down the road she would question like, oh, I wonder what other people would be like, or she's like, yeah, it's good, but it's like I have nothing to compare this to, and like I feel like a lot of people why like high school relationships don't work out or whatnot is because
You want to explore.
yeah, people
Yeah.
want to explore, and they're like, I don't want to have like that doubt that like I've just settled or
Yeah.
like, and it doesn't just have to be like sexually.
Just
don't
like,
get me
but,
wrong.
like,
It
there's
could
so
be,
the world's
like,
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've only had one boyfriend, if you like marry that one person, are you ready to just like what if you don't know like if there's something better out there or someone more
Yeah.
aligned?
I actually, like, don't agree with that idea to begin with. Like, the entire idea of, like, there could be someone better out
Yeah,
there.
I don't agree with that,
because
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
like, even the idea of, like, oh, no, I want to, like, maybe just experience others. It's like, you don't have to. There are so many things where we don't experience everything, right? Like, even, like, buying a car. We don't test drive every single car that we consider. We you know, you shortlist some, you look at some, and some you just test drive once and you're like, cool, that's enough. I don't need to try the other cars.
Yeah.
Or even like the food that you eat, the house that you buy, like so many things we settle for without exploring, you know, like fully involved with. Like I think it's okay.
I think like the better thing, like there is no one better than like the partner you have, like because you guys work
Yeah.
together or whatnot. But I think like the world exploring, especially when talking about high school relationships, there's a big world out there. Like if you are in the like still the high school relationship, there's a lot of times where you can just fall back into the trap of like not growing as a person because you have that like relation, you have the safety net. I think that's where the issue comes from.
Hey, sweet peas. Sorry, our camera died out just there. That's all we've got for that episode. We'll come back and revisit a lot of these topics later on. If there's certain things that you do want us to hear more of our takes on, please let us know. Drop it down in the comments. In the meantime, if you've made it this far, put a handshake emoji in the comments because we're all friends here. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. Bye.